So the BBC last week had a big 4-part drama that they decided to show over 4 consecutive nights. Matt, do you want to walk us through the basic building blocks and the background of the victim?
Luke, I know you've only seen the first one. Sarah, have you seen any more?
No, I did mean to, but I didn't find time, unfortunately.
Because I've watched all 4, so I don't know how much. I've already spoiled it for Luke, but I was going to go a bit more spoilery. The first episode sort of set on Halloween. We meet Craig Myers, who's sort of a seemingly normal bus driver. He's got a little girl, and as he goes to open the door to what he thinks is a trick-or-treater, he gets, I was going to say fatally wounded, but he survives. But he gets attacked, basically. And so, as events unfold, we learn the reason for the attack was that Craig online has been identified as a guy called Eddie J. Turner, who back in 2003 was responsible for the death of a young lad whose mum, Anna Dean, is played by Kelly MacDonald, and she is then charged for sort of inciting this assault because she put a post on Facebook identifying Craig as Eddie J. Turner. And then what the series does is we get the sort of the current day, which is the court case of Anna, and going back to see what led up to and then the aftermath of the attack on Craig and the impact it had on Anna and Craig.
Okay, now this got my goat initially because it does do that thing that all dramas do that always gets my goat, which is show you a tense, dramatic scene at the start and then whiz you back and go.
Can I just put my hand up here a minute, Luke, and say that
I can't see it, but I will allow it.
The thing that annoys me is when they just do it once. So you get the, I mean, I'm thinking The Driver, I'm thinking the first series of Prey, where they do one big scene at the start and then flashback. The Victim did it throughout, so you're getting the 2 timelines sort of merging together by the 4th episode.
More in common with The Cry than say Prey or The Driver. Okay.
Yeah, that gets me as well, where it's just one sort of exciting set piece and then you flash back. When dramas do it sort of both at the same time, then I've got more respect for it because they're setting out that this is our plot structure.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you on that. Sorry, Luke, you're in the minority here.
I thought it was being in the minority on my own podcast all the time. Carry on.
It was a very elegant setup. I did like the snippets that they used from the courtroom. I thought it was just quite a clear and clever way to sort of ratchet up the tension.
It seems to be a narrative device that's more commonly used now, and it's just one that niggles at me. But yeah, I agree. What do we think then to this? Matt, you've seen all 4 of them. That obviously bodes well because you've got less time on your hands to watch stuff.
To be fair, I watched all of Cheat as well, so I wouldn't put that as a negative. The particular positive. Yeah, I mean, I watched the first one about a week ago when we originally, because we were going to take this podcast a week ago. But then throughout the week, I think Thursday night, I sort of did a binge of the other 3 because I found it a very easy watch. It doesn't use up a lot of your brain cells, really. You sort of know what you're going to get. Another one which I would describe as sort of like the holiday novel, but it did have a little bit more going on beneath the surface, I personally found, because of the themes.
More layered, perhaps.
More layered. There was bits of it that I liked more than others. I thought the stuff with Craig, James Harkness, who is a relative newcomer, he was really good because he was a well-defined character. He was a man of few words. His childhood wasn't good, and that's why he didn't want to talk about it. And him and his wife, played by Carla Crome, I liked their relationship. I think she's a fantastic actress, and I wish we saw more of her on screen. The theme about, should whoever Eddie J. Turner is, should he be forgiven now because he served his time, or should his identity be revealed and he have to live with this crime forever? That was interesting. I thought something they didn't make as much of as I would have liked them to do is focus on Anna's young son, who has to sort of live in the shadow of this brother that he never knew. And that was an interesting bit. And they played on it a little bit, but not as much as I thought they should have done.
Yeah.
I mean,
the bit in the first episode where we first see her and she knows that her son desperately wants to go out and do trick-or-treat at Halloween, which is fine. But the way that she's so sort of knee-jerky, overprotective of him, you could see in her eyes that she knows that she's being over the top. and she knows that she doesn't need to be this cautious, and she just can't help herself because she's got into this mind frame, this way of being, you know, which of course you would if something tragic had happened to you. But yeah, I thought her performance especially was fabulous. She's got that inscrutable little smile, and it did make me wonder, you know, like really who is the victim, which is what they trailed with, wasn't it? Because she just looked so kind of spooky and unknowable, and I thought that she was perfectly cast. I thought it was really good.
I think what didn't work for me as well was John Hannah, and I don't think they ever really explained why he was sort of disgraced previously, and this was like a last chance job for him. And also, I don't think Hannah should be really playing coppers after a touch of cloth.
Absolutely not, no.
That's what I'm sure we all were thinking.
Seriously, at all.
Yeah.
It was too much. But I'm told that he did play Rebus as well, so we have to think Rebus, not cloth.
Certainly playing like the tortured detective with the past.
Yeah.
I mean, it was very cloth-esque.
To be honest, if I'm brutally honest with you, all 4 shows this week, this is like a spoiler, they were all so mediocre, and I'm just trying to decide. I think this is the best of a bad lot, really.
I think if you keep going with this, the 4th episode is very rewarding because you get 2 lengthy scenes between Craig and Anna, which are very sort of powerfully done, and sort of showcase the strengths of the drama. I thought the weaknesses of the drama were sort of the thriller elements, whereas the sort of character human elements, which is
what I like as well, to be fair.
Yeah,
is what I give or take the sort of jumpy thriller
so I would
moments.
say keep going, because it is quite, if you do it all together, it's an easier undertaking, I would say.
That must have been the thinking behind the scheduling as well. They must have thought this works best if you watch them over consecutive nights, because you're going to get a nice build up of characters and story. You ran out of time, Sarah, to watch the rest. Will you go back to it, or do you feel like you've seen enough based on that one?
Honestly, I think I would. I certainly meant to go back to it. I mean, immediately the first episode finished, I was like, oh yeah, I could definitely get into this. And as you say, it is only 4 parts. Coming from a sort of a love of Scandi noir and everything at least being 10 parts,
Yeah,
it's quite nice for me. But if you've got to wait until the 4th episode to really get your teeth into it, I don't know, you know?
or to be rewarded by it. Yeah,
Exactly.
It's a strange one, isn't it? It's a strange one. Because on one hand, what you're saying, that is, as a good resolution, 4 hours out of your life isn't a massive commitment, and it's a solid drama. But on the other hand, if I didn't feel connected or felt sort of drawn in by that first one, am I going to get to the 4th one and
I thought the characterization, certainly of Craig, was an I found him an interesting character. You know, you always say connected to the characters. I don't know how much you have to be connected to a character in everything, and I know we've had this argument before.
We've gone to blows over this many times.
Yeah, the story is strong enough, I think, to go throughout the 4 episodes. And it's one as well, a lot of people have been talking about work and saying, you know, I think it's this person, I think it's this person. And I think the revelation at the end actually made sense, and the way they sort of did it and everything, without spoiling it, because I know a lot of people haven't worked their way through it yet. I personally found it to be an interesting way of resolving it, and the final scene is very well done. There are clunky bits within it where they try and make it into more of like the standard TV thriller, but I think the things that work are the more sort of human elements to it, and there are believable bits in there.
So The Victim, all there on iPlayer, should you want to do what Matt has already done and whiz through the 4 hours that would take up.